Does your station show up when someone in your town asks AI search like Google's AI mode, ChatGPT, or Perplexity where to advertise? What about if they search for weekend events or local news? If your website isn't built for AI search in mind, you might be totally invisible and not even know it. Hi, it's Jim. Welcome to Better Radio Websites, the podcast that wants to help you get more visitors and the most revenue from your radio station website. And before we jump into this week's episode, be sure that you like and subscribe wherever you get this podcast, or even leave a comment. All of these help the algorithm to put this podcast in front of more radio decision makers and content creators just like you. Thank you so much for doing that. Well, last month we did an episode on AI search. But this topic is so relevant and so vital to your station website that it deserved a follow-up and maybe even more in the future. And really, last month, we just laid the groundwork for understanding on how AI is reshaping search behavior, not just in radio, but for every business out there. So like I say, today we're building on what we talked about last month, and we're going to zero in on how your station's website content can become the go-to answer when someone in your market turns to an AI assistant. So imagine a small business owner in town pulls out their phone and asks ChatGPT, Google Gemini, or Microsoft Copilot, what's the best place to advertise in your city? What happens next? Does the bot pull up a list of social media agencies, the local newspaper, maybe even a digital billboard company, or does it mention your radio station and maybe even link directly to your advertising page? This is the kind of question that is becoming more common as more people turn to AI-powered answer engines instead of traditional search. These tools pull from responses from trusted, structured, and locally relevant content. And if your website isn't optimized for these tools and how they read the information and receive it, then you're going to miss out. And that's where AI search optimization comes in. As a matter of fact, this past week, I had a marketing agency here locally to me reach out to me and say, hey, I have this client who's wondering how they can expand. And I'm like, okay, are they search engine optimized? Yeah. Are they AI search engine optimized? And well, what's that? I said, well, AI search engine optimization, or generative engine optimization is what it's called now, is the practice of structuring your content so that AI search tools can easily find, understand, and surface your content in their responsive. It's like SEO, but SEO matched keywords to user queries to drive traffic. GEO uses advanced AI to interpret and anticipate the user's intent more accurately, delivering more nuanced and precise responses. All right, and then that could mean it's based on their previous conversation that they had or previous experience or something like that. They're going to look for the intent on what they might want that information for. Now, believe me, this is not a future problem that we're talking about for your radio station. It's not something coming down the pike, not something that we should prepare for. This is right now. And really, whether it's events, local businesses, school sports, local news, your station is probably already producing the kind of content that these AI search tools are hungry for. And this content should be on your website. As we've mentioned many, many times, if you do any kind of content on your radio station, anything that the jocks say, your news, events that you talk about, in case somebody missed it, all of that information should be on your station website somewhere. And if your station is not content heavy, now is the time to start, because the key is to be found by people when they are not searching for your radio station. As more and more people are just turning to iTunes and podcast and SiriusXM and all of these other options out there, whenever they search for something, wouldn't it be cool if somebody who doesn't listen to any local radio found your radio station and you gave them the answer that they were looking for? Wouldn't it be awesome if, I didn't know this radio station was in town. How about I check them out? All right, so now you've got somebody all by creating content that they were searching for and they didn't even know you existed before they found it. That is the key to this, what we're talking about today. All right. Now, if you do have great content on your station website, awesome. Let's ensure that you structure it in such a way that your content can properly teach AI that you are the right location for them to direct people to. All right. So today we're going to talk about 5 common content types and how you can optimize them for search. Number 1, the most important to us is our Advertise with Us page, right? When somebody does a search for where can I advertise in your town, you want to be found for that. So instead of just putting a form on your Advertise with Us page, write out a full scannable pitch about why advertising with your radio station makes the most sense. Include a Q&A section about rates, audience size, ad options, and be sure that you add schema to these pages as well. Now, I understand that schema is a deep subject, and we've briefly mentioned it before, but we could probably do a whole podcast, maybe 2 or 3 on schema and what it does. Basically, what it is it's tags that live in the code of your website that differentiate your content from other types of content. Let's say you did a news post on your station website, and that news post was actually an obituary. So how would a search engine know that that's an obituary versus a regular news post or an event versus a contest or something else? Schema is a little code that goes in the background that says, okay, this is an obituary. This is not an event. This is not a contest. And this is not a regular news post. This is an obituary. It's not nothing. So that code living in the background is what schema does. And I'll leave a link to schema.org if you want to go do a deep dive into that. But basically, if you have a content service like Skyrocket Radio here, we put all that schema tags in the background. So that's not something that you have to worry about. But if you do the website yourself, do look into schema.org and be sure that you're putting these tags properly around your website. You also want to use the phrase advertise within city somewhere in the title or body copy of your Advertise with Us page. I even recommend, that's what I recommended to this marketing agency who contacted me this week, that this client actually do these different pages on their website where they can do the best HVAC or whatever in this city for this market, in this city, in this city, in this city. And you're not duplicating the content on these pages. You're actually putting in key specifics about each one of those towns. It's not something that you can copy and paste, all right? And you also want to include client testimonials, even in your Advertise with Us page, but your main page, but in each one of these cities, because really social proof is going to be probably the most important thing that you could put on your website here as this kind of search grows. Because if you think about it, everybody is going to be putting in their website, they're going to be creating posts about the best fill in the blank in city. With everybody putting that they're the best in this city, how will search engines know which one really is the best? Because they all say that they're the best. Social proof will be the differentiator in this, because the ones with the most testimonials and that say that they're the best, they are going to beat out the ones who just say that they're the best and don't have the social proof to back it up. All right. So be sure that you include testimonials on your Advertise with Us pages, and be sure that you have an Advertise with Us page for each one of the cities around your market. Number 2 is evergreen content. Now, we've talked about this in the past. Evergreen content, it's content that's relevant, but it can be relevant for longer periods of time. Like, what's the best picnic spot in your city? The best place to get a burger in your city? It's not like local news where it's relevant and it happened most recently, but it's content that can stay on your website for long periods of time. All right, tell me about high school football in your town. All right, write articles that read like helpful guides, not just short blurbs or news posts, okay? And also use headlines and subheadings that mimic real-world questions like, where are the best picnic spots in so-and-so city? These are the best picnic spots in so-and-so city, all right? And use that FAQ page schema, there's that schema again, to ensure that you're actually putting these as common questions that you're providing the answers to. Because if you can have a FAQ page that answers all of these questions, then search engines they don't have to do very much work. All right, they have the information there, and maybe even you put some social proof in there as well. Like, yeah, I agree that this place is the best picnic spot in the city or whatever. And then include location specific phrases naturally throughout as well. Like I said, with the different advertise with us pages around each city, you may want to do the best picnic spot for every one of those cities around in your area, and then provide the social proof. This evergreen content is really, really great for that. And evergreen content will more than likely be the content that will get somebody who does not even have your radio station on their radar, can make them a listener. All right. That's really the key to this. And I cannot emphasize this enough, is that any kind of content that you're putting on your station website, it is to be found by the people to get more listeners to your radio station. That is you want to service your listeners that are your P1s, your P2s, and stuff like that. But you definitely want to be found by people who don't even know about your radio station. All right, number 3 is event listings and recaps. Let's say someone asks, what's happening this weekend in my town? If you have an event calendar on your station website, be sure that you're using the event schema. You're not just creating a news post with all of the events happening in your city, because if you had a news post that just did that, looking for something to do this weekend and so, then do blah, 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 blah. That may work to an extent, but it will go a whole lot further if you have your events actually structured with the event schema markup, with those dates and times and locations, because that schema will actually tell the AI search engine, okay, they want to know what's happening this weekend. This weekend are the dates between so-and-so and so-and-so. Let me go, oh, this event happens between this date and this date during these times and during at this location. So that's where it uses all of that schema information to know that that is a relevant piece of content. And be sure that you're including short, keyword-rich summaries at the top of each event page. And of course, be sure that you are always keeping your calendar fresh with new events. Yeah, you want to do that post like what's happening this weekend, but be sure that you can back it up and maybe link to the events that are in your events calendar. All right. Number 4 is local business features. So let's say you have a business directory on your station websites. A lot of radio stations do include business directories. Sometimes they're just clients, but some will go even further and just list every business in their town. And that's very, very good to have on your station website. We have a directory premium plugin that we have, and include the business name and the URL and the H1 tag there. Be sure that you're using that schema for local business, which our plugin does. Be sure that you include specific services, locations, and quotes, again, with that social proof. And then use clear meta descriptions like, meet hometown HVAC, serving city with quality heating since 1995, trusted locals and affordable, reliable service. I mean, all of that information can be on there. And we've actually seen in some markets where, with the directory being so perfect in their schema organization in the background, it's stuff that you don't even see, that the directory listing will show up. Their directory listing will show up higher in the search results than their business, because their business doesn't have all this schema in the background that are telling search engines what is where and where they are and the things that they do and that sort of thing. So that's how very important that schema is. And then number 5 in our list of content to optimize for are podcasts and interviews. A use case could be, what's the local latest issue, or who's running for mayor in so-and-so town. Post transcripts and summaries beneath each one of your podcast episodes. Use descriptive titles and meta descriptions like interview with Mayor Johnson, his plans for 2026. Tag content, names, issues, and categories. Use the podcast episode schema. There's that schema again. And then timestamp sections for highlights. There's all kinds of things that you can do just to make the content that you're already doing more visible to regular search engines and the new generative search engines. All right. So optimizing for AI search, it doesn't mean that you're going to completely change whatever you publish. It just means that you're being more intentional on how you publish it. If your radio station's already creating strong local content, you're halfway there. And if you're not posting local content consistently, hopefully this is a wake-up call, because we want your radio station website to be found by more than people than just your P1s who listen all the time. We want people to find your station and become one of your new P1 by you providing an answer for them that they didn't even know that you existed, but you gave them the answer. Man, you know what? Let me check out this radio station. That's really our call to action, is to put a lot of this great content on your station website. And for those of you who have all of this great content on your station website, now it's just making that content easy for AI to read, to understand, and to trust well enough to provide it as the go-to answer. Because when someone's asked the question, what's the best place to advertise in your town, the answer should be obvious. It's you, right? Hopefully this information has helped you. If it has, be sure to, again, like, subscribe, share this out with a radio colleague. We so much appreciate it. And if you need help with your radio station website, ensuring all that schema and stuff like that that's in the background, reach out to us at skyrocketradio.com. Have an awesome week online making your radio station website better. We'll see you next time.
Looking to maximize your radio station's digital presence? Skyrocket Radio delivers custom websites and mobile apps built exclusively for radio stations by radio professionals. Our websites engage listeners and drive revenue, while the integrated apps keep your audience connected wherever they are. It's a complete digital solution designed to boost your station's reach and ad sales. To take your station's online experience to the next level, visit skyrocketradio.com.